I totally screwed up this weekend.
What'd you do?
My wires got crossed.
Okay.
I went to the Queens Only rally and met a bunch of lovely men.
You did, huh?
I did. I was just backwards.
Queens Only.
Guys were really nice.
You would think they would have rescheduled that.
You would have thought. So we can't record tomorrow. I'm going to a white party in Palm Springs.
Okay.
I got nothing to wear.
That'd be nice.
I thought it was the same thing. No kings, queens only. I had no idea. No one told me.
Very different party.
Very different party.
Quiet, please.
Did you dress up as a frog or an animal to go to the Queens Only party? Or?
In
No,
4,
I went as Liberace.
3,
It's nice.
2.
Company presents a truly terrible podcast. Welcome to Nonsense Season 3, Episode 56. I'm Jeff Parker.
I'm Stittle.
This is our take on the week's business, tech, and entertainment headlines. This time, the freedom to cough on people. Idaho makes vaccine requirements illegal.
In related news, Mr. Potato Head now has snap-on measles spots.
Mystery object strikes United flight over Utah.
Yeah, this is interesting. As the captain of the flight with 27 years of flying experience said, "What the f*** was that? Did you f***ing see that? Holy sh**."
Ex's handle hostage. Pay up for your username.
Or you can do what I did and just delete the app. So you have options, you listeners.
Also, our big story later this week, Code Red. Is the AI gold rush heading for a crash?
Don't let them hear you say that. The bots are listening.
It's Back to the Future Day. Yes, it's the day that the DeLorean arrived in the future, October 21st, 2015 at 4:29 p.m. In 1989's Back to the Future 2, millions of fans of the movie trilogy watched the only time Doc, Marty, and Jennifer would travel into the future, a date which is now in the past. Back to the Future Day reminds us all that if you put your mind to it, you can accomplish anything.
Okay, so first of all, the future for them was 2015, right? That was the future with the hoverboards.
Oh, yeah.
That was 10 years ago today. Let's just not lose sight of that.
Yeah.
That Back to the Future was basically the height of meta, I think is what they missed.
Sure.
Also, I hope most listeners are sitting down. When Back to the Future was shot or released in like 1985-ish, they went back to 1955, 30 years.
Yeah.
If it was shot today, they would go back to 1995. So just go ahead and let that set in of how 1955 felt when you watch this film.
That's crazy.
That's how 1995 would feel. Well, now, yeah, I need a moment.
That's wild.
Yeah.
How's your week going?
These pants make me look fat. I am just continuing on the adventures of Little Meats. I decided that the right thing to do was to cure 26 pounds of chuck short rib, prime chuck short rib.
Oh, that little meat. Yeah, go ahead.
That little meat, yeah, to make what I consider to be the best pastrami probably in the universe. It was incredible. I shared it with a bunch of my friends at our school. It was absolutely lovely. I did bother to desalinate it, so hopefully I didn't give anybody hypertension.
Does your school love it when you bring this stuff in?
I mean,
they must just go crazy.
They do. The people, I really like doing it for the parents because the parents love doing it. My favorite thing is when parents come up to me and they're like, I have the hardest time getting my kid to eat anything with protein, but they love cooking, eating any of your barbecued meats. And I'm like, great, that's a giant win, right?
Of course.
One little girl that I know really well came over at one point and she wanted some, but I was out and then immediately started to cry and I felt terrible. I felt absolutely terrible. And the first thing that ran through my head was that I had given her father 2 pieces and I was going to be like, well, I gave your dad one for you, but he didn't give it to you. I didn't say that. She immediately recovered. I told her I'd bring her some to her house, but it was the cutest thing. It was a lot of fun. It is a little over the top, like now where I'm like slicing pastrami for 45 minutes to people. I'm like, maybe I should do a little less of this because it like other people's stuff is like in a chafing dish and they're just looking at me and I'm
draws
like,
a little focus. Yeah, sure.
So it's a little much, but it's really lovely, and I do truly enjoy doing it, and people love it. It's one of those things where no one's crazy enough to just make pastrami at their house out of short rib. So if I can do it and share it with a bunch of people, I think it's great. But here's the problem: every year I try to do something different. So next year I'm gonna have to figure out how to top this, and that's gonna be difficult. I'm thinking maybe I'll smoke some hot dogs or something. I would love it if they just all came up and they're like expecting like ribs or brisket. I'm like, hot dogs, everybody!
Hot dogs, enjoy. I didn't even make them.
With any condiment you like. And then I enjoyed watching the Dodgers crush the Brewers. The Dodgers, look, they should let other teams feel like they might have the chance of winning. I feel like they should just every now and again.
Should have been a gentleman's sweep. It should not have just been an actual sweep.
Let them hit a couple of home runs and not had the big guy smash balls that haven't even landed yet.
A friend of mine said this is the greatest MLB performance I've ever seen. I corrected him and said, no, it's the greatest MLB performance ever. Shohei Ohtani, 10 strikes, 6 scoreless innings as a pitcher, 3 home runs. Unbelievable.
That's Just crazy. Anyway, look, I'm not going to ask you how your week's going. The Dodgers went 4-0. Of course your week's going great, but sure, how's your week going? Let's pretend.
My week's going okay. That number 2 home run in Game 4 over the Pavilion, mind-blowing.
Yeah.
There's a few other people who have done it, but not a lot of people who have done it. Willie Stargell has done it twice.
Wow.
He did it in 1969 and in 73. Mike Piazza did it once in 97, I think. Mark McGuire in 1999. Giancarlo Stanton did one in 2015, and the most recent one, Fernando Tatis Jr., did one in 2021. But wow, absolutely incredible, because now that's a food pavilion.
Sure.
Somebody was standing there, and the ball came flying over and landed in a flower bed.
I mean, that's a nice little gift. You're out there having your Dodger dog, and all of a sudden one of Shohei's balls comes flying in, lands in a pot. Now, I know what our listeners at home are thinking. Wow, this is great. Finally, baseball's almost over. They're going to stop talking about sports. I have bad news for you.
The Lakers are back tonight.
There it is. There it is.
LeBron James is out for about 6 weeks or so, but Luka Doncic, Marcus Smart, DeAndre Ayton should be exciting on both ends of the court. Austin Reeves and Rui Hachimura are back, all in the hunt for the elusive Larry O'Brien trophy.
LeBron was out for his gout or his
sciatica?
Sciatica? It was a sciatica. Okay.
Yes.
All right.
You're correct. Another old man disease.
Somewhere in there.
I have to finish one sport before I move on to the next one, so I'm looking forward to the World Series starting Friday. Go Dodgers. Let's get to our headlines, shall we?
Let's do it.
Idaho's medical freedom law, a national model for anti-mandate activism. Idaho, the state where bodily autonomy overrides public health, and they want to take their crazy national. Idaho passed the Idaho Medical Freedom Act, a landmark law making it illegal for governments, businesses, schools, and daycares to require any vaccine or medical intervention. This move is the culmination of years of activism, spearheaded by Leslie Manookian, who's now campaigning to make it a national model.
Yeah.
Proponents celebrate it as a win for bodily autonomy, although they're still anti-abortion, and a blow to compulsory medicine, arguing institutions like the CDC are untrustworthy. Critics, however, warn it undermines public health, pointing out that it makes precautions like quarantining unvaccinated children during disease outbreaks illegal. Got any thoughts on this?
First, I have to take 2 deep breaths before the blood pressure bursts the vein on my forehead.
Deep, heavy sigh.
This is amazing that this has happened. So the basic gist of this is that now, not all, but most sort of public places, whether it's the government or a business, a school, a daycare, they cannot require any sort of vaccine or medical intervention. It is the Wild West.
There is literally a law against making rules about you need vaccinations.
They cannot do whatever they want.
You can have an old people's home and you can't require that the servers wear masks.
Sure.
Around old people who could be quite susceptible to viruses.
When you spend just a modicum of time, and I really mean like single-digit minutes, reading about the people that are behind this, it is likely, if you listen to this show, that your blood will start to boil because it is just layers and layers of misinformation. The author of this law believes that, quote, measles is positive for the body and that the virus can protect against cancer and that it can send people into total remission.
Oh my.
That is what she actually believes and has said before.
Right.
Her qualifications, you might wonder, are like, oh, where'd she go to medical school? Big surprise, didn't.
Sure.
And like I read her bio, the bio that she wrote, her own bio, the one that she endorses, reads that she's an award-winning documentary film producer and writer and a former successful Wall Street business executive.
Yeah.
All right. So maybe you're on Wall Street for a little while. She was at Goldman Sachs. Like, okay, you did something there. Sure. But where's your qualification to be in any sort of medical governing capacity?
She did some reading on Facebook.
I'm not even sure she's done that. They were listed as a qualified homeopath, nutrition and well-being junkie, and a health freedom advocate. Let me be clear here. When someone lists themselves as a, quote, qualified homeopath, that doesn't mean anything.
Yeah, of course.
It literally has no meaning whatsoever in the world of science or medicine. Because if you go look at the page on Wikipedia for homeopathy, which I will link to here, on the second paragraph, it says, and I quote, all relevant scientific knowledge about physics, chemistry, biochemistry, and biology contradicts homeopathy. Homeopathic remedies are typically biochemically inert and have no effect on any known disease.
But boy, did they sell a lot of them at Whole Foods.
It's not even magic. It's just nothing. It's just nothing. They use the word inert, biochemically inert.
Sure.
So this is not forward progress, right? But that's her qualifications for saying that we shouldn't have vaccine. Yeah. So anyway, I'm sure this is going to go splendid for the fine folks in Idaho.
The act makes it illegal for state and local governments, private businesses, employees, schools, and daycares to require anyone to take a vaccine or receive any other medical intervention. By the way, it is still illegal to smoke in public in Idaho. I think smoking in public is probably less harmful than taking away the vaccine mandate.
In South Carolina, they quarantined 150 unvaccinated kids after measles arrived in an attempt to keep them healthy.
Yes.
So these are folks that have no protection. And they said, oh, wait a minute. There was measles here. You're not vaccinated. We're going to quarantine you to try to keep you healthy.
Don't come to school.
Right?
Right.
That would now be illegal in Idaho. They could not do that because those kids are, quote, healthy.
Right.
I don't know what the outcome of this has to be in order to understand that we've spent decades trying to figure out how to make this better, and we have. And now they're like, no, you just want to make money. Yes, because there's a mountain of money to be made in vaccinating folks so they no longer have a disease. Think about that from a business perspective.
Right.
I am curing you of the thing. I'm keeping you from getting the thing. Is there a lot of money to be made in that? Not sure.
You and I have both talked about how millions of kids would die every year from this.
Well, that's the CDC's.
Just from measles.
They estimate this around $500 billion in direct costs that we've saved society.
Yeah.
And it's sort of a total of about $2.7 trillion worth of value. And this doesn't even account for vaccines for flu or RSV, which also kill and hospitalize babies and kids every year, right? So it's bananas how effective this stuff is. Like, I feel like we as humans got to the point like, oh, hey, we knocked some of these things out of the park. Now there's just a bunch of us who are like, yeah, no.
Coming right back.
No, I should be able to pick what I want to do. It's like, okay.
The law runs against one of our hallmarks of modern public health, that a person's full participation in society depends on their willingness to follow certain rules. Want to send your kid to public school?
Yeah.
They'll need a measles vaccine. Want to work in a retirement community during flu season? You might have to wear a mask. But the thing that's galling, the thing that's supremely galling, is that people don't understand herd immunity, why it's important for you to get the vaccine, not just me. I'm going to get the vaccine. I'm going to be fine. I'm not going to have measles. I need 95% of us to get the vaccine. So the disease doesn't have routes to travel. So the disease dead ends out and we don't have this spreading like crazy around the country.
It's like, it's not that hard. And the downside on this, the risk, if you can understand basic math, the risk is almost non-existent. Like, you're not risking much. Like, oh, you might have a sore arm for a while.
Right.
Reasonable price to pay so that your friend in school doesn't die from measles.
I get a little fever when I get those vaccines. I get a little fever for about 12 hours or so. It's not a big deal. When you insist on having certain freedoms, what you never hear mentioned these things is you're taking away freedom from someone else. When you say you can't have a law about vaccines at your daycare, about kids having to be vaccinated to come to your daycare, there can't be a law about that. When you say that, you're taking away someone else's rights. That is to say, you're taking away, let's say, the daycare owner's rights to have a community where they don't have to worry about measles spreading. Or other infectious diseases.
Yeah, they no longer can do that. The author of this, by the way, she's gone on record as saying that she, quote, doesn't believe the research on vaccines has been adequate. Lady, there's been 50 years of research on this. It's been peer reviewed.
Exactly.
What's not
so
adequate?
Much.
Like, I'm sorry, you're a film producer and a qualified homeopath. Like, what is your definition of adequate?
Sure.
What exactly do you need to see? I'm not a big fan of the whole no vaccine mandate. I do suspect this is going to spread. I think once you sort of get one of these, or you need a handful of other places. I don't know what we need to see happen to have this reversed. I really don't. Like, are folks going to be shock and awe when, 1 to 3 kids that gets measles dies?
Yeah.
Like, that's the data.
Yeah.
That's not going to change. That's not going to be different now than it was 50 years ago. So, like, is that what needs to happen? Are we going to blame that on somebody else when that happens? So I don't know what needs to happen for folks to go, oh, as it turns out, this is actually a bad idea. Maybe it's just a giant pendulum that swings back and forth, and they've got to see this again.
And part of it is because the vaccines have been so effective, people have forgotten exactly how dangerous these diseases can be. Mnookin and her allies have a new goal in their sights to make Idaho's legislation a national standard. Idaho was already more permissive than other states when it came to vaccine rules. Parents since at least the 1990s could send unvaccinated children to school if they signed a form saying the vaccination went against their religious or personal beliefs.
Yeah, so in places like Idaho and a lot of other places I suspect will glom onto this early, it probably doesn't make a very big difference because you already had easy paths out. So maybe we'll see, don't know. But I do love, and again, you can't apply logic because folks don't think logically, but I do love the juxtaposition of like, well, wait, I thought you weren't allowed to have bodily autonomy. I thought there were things that you said you can't do with your body. But as it turns out, no.
No, they're still saying there are things some things you can't do with your body.
It's just the things that we want.
Still not.
It's just the things that we want. Yeah, sorry.
You can get the immunocompromised quite ill. You're free to do that.
I mean, it does. This is what's so bananas to me. It's like when people, I know there's not that many people that are running around talking about a flat earth, but there's so many things that you can do that will take single-digit minutes to convince you the earth isn't flat. Like, for example, watching a boat. That's all you gotta do. Watch a boat. Go out to the horizon.
Sure.
To be convinced the earth is round. It's pretty simple, not hard. I feel like here, you can just go find somebody because they're still alive that had a sibling that died of measles and go ask them what they think about measles and the measles vaccine.
Yeah.
Like, that's a real human being telling you what's happening. Now, I don't do that. I go online and, read from people that have had this happen and look at the data and go, oh, well, that seems bad. But then again, I'm not on Facebook, so who knows? There are folks, and I'm going to put these anti-mandate folks into this bucket. I'm not entirely sure where they fall, but I suspect they're in this bucket where you're like, I'm going to pick and choose the parts that I believe of science.
Yeah.
And I've seen this before. I've seen this before with people that will say no to these treatments until they get really sick. And then all of a sudden,
suddenly they want them.
They want them because they are forced to look at their own mortality and go, well, maybe the science thing is right. And I think about that
happened with COVID, and it was like, you want the vaccine now? It's too late.
And I think about the burden that puts on the healthcare system and the workers and the people. You're taking a bed now from someone else. This is why we don't give kidneys to people that need them who won't stop drinking. I kind of look at that here and I'm like, what's the answer? Like, should you not be allowed to use cell phones? Like, you don't get a cell phone. Well, why not? Because you don't believe in science. And that cell phone is made entirely of science. It's 100% science.
Sure. We're
going to give you the telegram. You can keep that. That was science too. But you can keep that one and it'll be like Ohio. In 100 years, you can have a cell phone. But until then, no. I don't know what the answer is, but I feel like it's not what we're doing now where you get to pick and choose. Because again, it's this burden that you put on the system that is not necessary.
Those people who wouldn't take the COVID vaccine and suddenly they got sick with COVID and they scrambled in and wanted the vaccine. It was like, the vaccine can't help you now.
Yeah.
It's too late. This vaccine you needed to take prior to getting COVID.
There were a bunch of folks, though, that didn't feel that way. They were just like, oh, no, it's all a hoax. They just went right into the grave, happily hoax. But you're talking about the ones that are in that middle, the ones that were like, oh, I regret my decisions. And it's like, yes, good judgment comes from experience. Experience comes from bad judgment. You just did the bad judgment part. The problem is you haven't learned from other people that have done bad judgment and learned from their experience. Like, you haven't been able to level up. You're still doing this yourself. But anyway, horseworm pills.
I really think there ought to be a lot of headstones from the COVID era that actually have the phrase, the quote engraved on them. It's a hoax.
Yeah. I mean, maybe that could be our nonsense AR app. You just walk around with some Apple Vision Pro goggles on and it maps all the headstones.
And you can see everybody who said it was a hoax. Oh, this guy. Yeah. Look where he lives now.
Yeah.
6 feet under.
I mean, it's just the same as the flu. That's what it'll be like. One day it'll say it's a hoax. The other it'll be the same as the flu. Here we are. I don't know what state of jadedness I'm in, but I'm definitely deep somewhere in the jadedness camp.
This headline has put both of us into a bit of a funk today.
I did not enjoy reading this headline in the least, no.
The governor signed it. It's now a law.
The governor
going after
Brad Little. I don't know where you
cousin of yours
forked off the tree, but homie, we got to talk. I mean, it seems to be, I'm not trying to defend Mr. Brad Little, who I have no idea if I have any relation to or not, although Grandpa George Little, he did get around. I assume like this seems to be what his people want. And I don't know enough about understanding politics. Like, if that's what your people want, that's probably the thing you need to give them. So
there was a version of this that he refused to sign, that he vetoed.
Yeah, he vetoed one version, and then they came back and they seemed to make a version that catered to the concern that he had, and then he signed it. So I'm not really grumpy about him per se. I am more grumpy about the entire electorate body there, and my hunch is they're not as educated as I would like them to be when it comes to science. But who knows? What's the answer? If the majority of your electorate wants something that is against science, do you give it to them? I don't know. Maybe. Yeah. Maybe there should be a science test on the way to the ballot box. That seems reasonable. I don't mean like a hard science test.
I just don't understand how people can't count. I mean, it's such a simple thing to look at pre-vaccine numbers and post-vaccine numbers and just do this tiny bit of math and go, wow, overwhelmingly, this vax stuff really works. It really does make a massive difference.
Okay, Jeff's answer is much better than mine. Let's be clear. You have a much better distillation than mine. I'm like, the emotionality of it all. You're like, they just can't count. Oh,
count. That's all you have to do is be able to count.
It's a great question. I'm not a psychologist. my assumption is their belief is that it won't happen to them, right? These are the same people that believe in the lottery. My hunch is they believe that it won't happen to them. And it's like, well, you're buying a lottery ticket that's one in, 120 million. You think you're going to hit on that. But then when it comes to measles and you're like, well, it's going to be, whatever, 1 in 1,000 that get it are going to die. And your odds are up 60% or whatever the number is of getting it now. And you're like, nah, I can't. Nah, I'll be fine.
Except for you're giving the virus a path to get to someone else who might be immunocompromised. If you are vaccinated, you're stopping the virus from having that path to get to someone who might be.
But isn't that a pretty common thread through that group? Folks that are like, well, you're different than me and I don't understand this, so I don't like it, so I don't want it to exist. It's like you can't understand that they're different. Like folks just look at it. But then you find someone who goes through this and they have somebody, your loved one gets measles, and all of a sudden you're like, oh, maybe I should reconsider those measles vaccines. Like, why does it have to happen to you in order for you to get it?
Yeah, I don't know. They just can't. Do you not read history? Do you not? Because people forget what this is like.
Okay. Do you not read history?
There is an epidemic in this country. And it's not measles. Sure. There's an epidemic in this country of selfishness.
Yes, of course.
Selfishness.
The lack of empathy. But you just said, do you not read history?
My rights. These are my rights. I have the right to bear arms so that lots of kids can get killed at schools, but I'm not giving up my right to the gun. I'm not giving up my rights to not have to have the vaccine, even though it means lots of immunocompromised people will die needlessly.
No, I understood. But I want to go back to what you said, because I think you spoke incorrectly or maybe just overly specifically. You said that these folks don't read history. And I don't think you need the word history.
Supposed to don't read?
I think that's a big part of the problem. I really do. A lot of it's just like, if it's not in a 25-second TikTok, I'm not interested. I'm distraught over this story. I can't stop thinking about the young parents or parents of young kids who can't send their kid to daycare now because the kid's too young to get a measles shot. They didn't do anything wrong. They're playing by the playbook that science has told them, and their kid gets measles and dies. Mm-hmm. And who's going to take responsibility for that? Leslie Markunian? She's not going to take responsibility for that. She'd be like, oh, a couple deaths, but they get freedom. Like, there's no telling of this story that's going to make me smiles and happy. This is that I'm stuck on here. And it's like, I don't think the answer to that young family is move, but I think the answer is move. Yeah. Like, go places where you can do this.
You're going to have people move both ways. This is the kind of law 100%. That will cause people to move in both directions. You'll have people move out of Idaho, and you'll have people move into Idaho just because of this change.
But I wonder if that's part of the answer. I wonder if part of the answer is you become a honeypot for that. And I just go, well, odds are their coughing can't get to 36,000 feet, so I'll just fly over them.
Oh, no, their coughing can get to 36,000 feet because they're going to have places they have to travel to, so they're going to be on the plane. Exactly. Fine for you and me if you're immunocompromised. Wow, that just sucks.
Yeah. Oh, by the way, fine for you and me now until one of us is immunocompromised, until one of us needs a treatment that destroys our immune system. And then I'll put them into a bucket. Their answer will be, we'll just stay home. Cool. Thanks, man. You don't like secondhand smoke? Don't go to the restaurant. Okay. Cool.
High altitude hazard. What smashed a United 737 windshield? A United Airlines 737 MAX flying from Denver to Los Angeles was struck by an unknown object over Utah last Thursday, causing a significant cracking in the cockpit windscreen. The aircraft was safely diverted and landed in Salt Lake City. The captain reportedly described the projectile as space debris, but this is unconfirmed. Images show damage to the glass and metal frame. One pilot sustained cuts from the glass shards. The flight was cruising at over 30,000 feet.
This story is not good. This is not like we're going from one not good to another not good.
Take a guess. What do you think? A meteor? A little piece of a meteor? What do you think it was that hit him?
Oh, I know what it is.
Planes flying through the air. Something hits the windshield at 30,000 feet. Oh, super high flying bird? Birds aren't up there.
They're in Utah. They were heading in a southwesterly direction. I am confident this was one of Shohei's home run balls. I'm absolutely confident that's what hit this
Could have been. You're right. I hadn't thought of that.
No, you haven't thought of that. No. Look, I think this is one of two things. I think this was either a meteorite or space junk. And the more likely answer is a meteorite, because while we don't get a lot of those, we get a lot more of those than space junk raining back to Earth.
Yeah.
So that is my hunch.
There are people who literally track space junk.
Yeah.
So if it was space junk, we likely would have known about it coming.
They're probably going to figure this out. My understanding is they're going to take samples from the part of the windshield and the fuselage that was hit. And I think from that, they'll be able to tell. Like if it's scorched, the thing was hot, which means it was reentry.
Sure.
It seems incredibly unlikely that it was something like a weather balloon that was falling down. I mean, it could have been, but it doesn't seem like it would have enough speed to do this much damage, but the plane is doing 500 knots. But I think the rock from this planet's probably the right answer.
Or Delta just flushed their toilets and they just send out
that's the more likely answer. The Delta pilot's like, is that a United flight behind us? Flush the dumper. Yeah, that's what it was. That makes the most sense. They were watching National Lampoon's Christmas Vacation and they just had to Empty the pooper.
X's handle hijack a premium power play. X is launching a disruptive new handle marketplace, strategically locking highly coveted inactive usernames behind a premium paywall. Only elite subscribers, Premium Plus, and Business gain exclusive access to this username goldmine, a calculated lure for paid retention.
This is fascinating to me. Like, I did not have this on my bingo card to come up at all. What is the most amazing to me about this isn't the fact that, okay, the way this works is there's a name that you want that somebody held previously. The only way you can get it is you've got to be a checkmark subscriber. And if you then leave the subscription service, you have to forfeit the name, right? Which is, they've just tried to like sassify these names, which is just so sad to see that this is how they're doing it. But it really is fascinating to me because I think about, okay, highly coveted names. First of all, there aren't any new ones, right? Every version of every iteration of letters you can think of is taken. You've got to put 7869 at the end of one in order to make it unique. So the only place that these names could come from is people that have left the platform. That's the only place this could come from.
Well, define left.
Well, they are inactive, right? They've forfeited.
Okay, define
Let's
inactive.
Just do that in quotes for a second.
What X means by inactive?
It depends on how much ketamine Musk has had that day. I don't know. I mean, their FAQ says that you need to log in at least every 30 days.
Right.
That's all it says.
Right.
It doesn't say after 30 days it becomes inactive. It's unclear. It even says in their FAQ that it's unclear if you'll know if it's inactive or not. Like, you can't even tell. It really does seem like a mess. If one of these were to become, quote, available, the only way it would happen is because it was inactive or abandoned, which means someone else had to have left the platform in order for you to go squat on it. So I have no idea how this is all going to end up, but this is not a move I expected. And to me, I look at this, and granted, I'm biased, but I look at this and I go, man, this is just sad.
Yeah.
It's just sad that now you're like...
They're scrambling for some way to make money, some way, any way possible to make money, and this is just insane. You know how we do those things at the end of the show? Nonsense recommends you get vaccinated.
Yeah.
I really want to do one at the end that just says,
sure.
Nonsense recommends you get off Twitter. By the way, not just Twitter. Nonsense recommends you get off social media.
Yeah, sure. Throw your phone into the ocean.
There is nothing useful about this. And especially if you have kids. Kids under the age of 16 have no business being on social media.
Yeah, that's a separate issue. Kids and phones. I'm going to disagree with you that X or social media has no value. I do think it does. I think for like news and reporting, real-time reporting, it can be a great asset.
Sure. That's what I was using X for when it was called Twitter. And I was just using it for like a headline service. But then you need to be able to click on it and get to the actual story where someone did some actual reporting.
Not possible. I mean, but the other challenge I find with, like, if you were to go to just delete X tomorrow, right? If somebody were to just take our advice and go delete Twitter tomorrow, the problem is they would have now nowhere to go for their hate speech. So that would be very difficult for them. Like, you can't just go to the town square and yell the same thing, but you can do it okay on X, and it's fine.
IKEA says if your phone sleeps, maybe you will too. IKEA just launched tiny beds for smartphones. The brand's UAE arm just dropped the Phone Sleep Collection, a miniature bed set for smartphones, complete with wood slats, bedding, and an embedded NFC chip.
And true to all IKEA furniture, it takes you and a friend 3 days to put it together.
In the ad, they show you having to put it together. It's a tiny, tiny bed that you put your cell phone in.
It's kind of the cutest thing I've ever seen.
It's so cute. You have to see the video. We'll put the link in the show notes. But the funny thing is the idea is to get you off of your cell phone at night. So you have a little bed for your cell phone that you can tuck your cell phone into at night.
If you get 7 hours of rest for 7 nights in a row, they're going to give you a voucher for like $25, which is just awesome. Like
$27, yeah.
Sure. I don't know if they're going to go wide with this. I'm assuming right now it's only in the UAE, but I just think it's really cute. Like someone had this idea to put out there, and it's IKEA, and you got to see it. It's a little tiny bed with slats, just like Jeff said, for your phone. It's the cutest.
IKEA does delightfully charming things like this every once in a while.
It's really cute.
Just wonderful. Yes, and the idea is right. The only thing I don't think is right about it is I wish there was a Qi charger in it. If you can tuck your phone into bed, it might as well be charging while, you're sleeping. Quote, sleep is arguably the most important design project in our lives, but it's also the most neglected, unquote, says Carla Klumpenar, IKEA's marketing and retail design director. Meanwhile, IKEA is moving all of their home automation devices to Thread, which is wonderful.
See, now we're ending on a happy note. Phone sleep got me out of the funk.
Absolutely wonderful.
And now they're moving to Thread, and now I'm on board.
They do some cool stuff for sure. Okay, enough with the headlines. In fact, enough with this episode. Enough with this episode. Yeah. We have to get out of here. Special thanks to our floor director, Ryan Pfeiffer.
Thanks, Wi-Fi.
We'll be back later this week with our big story, the AI illusion, separating hype from hard revenue. Until then, thank you for listening to all this nonsense. I'm Jeff Parker.
I'm Skittle.
Nonsense recommends deleting all your social media apps.
Except for the MLB ballpark ad. That one.
Go Dodgers and Lakers. Stop listening to the TikTok of the past. For centuries, telling time meant watching hands spin on a dial, a quaint mechanical tradition. But modern times demand a timepiece built for the future. They demand the Pulsar time computer. This isn't a watch, it's a wrist-worn electronic marvel. The Pulsar is the first all-digital watch with no moving parts. Simply press the face and a brilliant glowing LED display instantly illuminates the hour and minute in deep red light. For the man who has everything, the Pulsar time computer is housed in 18-karat gold and priced at $2,100. By the way, that's $2,100 from the day this ad was out.
Wow.
Not today.
Wow.
Stop wearing a relic. Start wearing a revolution. The Pulsar. Time just became electric.
The Pulsar was $2,100 in issue days?
In its day.
Wow. So basically, you're talking about like this or half a car is like the world you were in, like Rolex territory.
I'm going to let you guess now what year the Pulsar time computer came out.
I have no idea. I mean, this is like in the quartz boom. So I do remember listening to the excellent episode on Rolex on Acquired, and they talk about this. But this had to be the start of the quartz boom.
Okay.
The quartz boom, I think, was like late 70s, early 80s, if I remember correctly. So I'm going to guess 1978. That's what I'm going to go with.
By the way, this thing couldn't stay illuminated because the little LEDs, would kill the batteries. They ate so much batteries, it lit up the time for the exact amount of time you needed after you touched it.
I mean, this was, and I really can't recommend enough the Rolex episode that the guys over at Acquired did, because they talk about how when this was coming, they really thought the entire market thought the mechanical watch market was dead.
Was gone, sure.
Because it didn't make any sense for it to survive. And they talk about how Rolex played their hand and has allowed that to not only survive but thrive in that environment. But yeah, I'm gonna guess late 70s, like let's say 1978.
78.
That's my guess.
Let me give you the math now. The watch would be about $17,000 today.
Oh, so I'm off. So it's older than that.
Yeah.
72.
72 is the correct answer.
Is that correct?
It was 1972. Yes.
Oh, all right.
That's why I wasn't giving you a converted price.
Yeah. Well, I wouldn't have known I would have bet the under on $2,000, especially $1972.
Yeah.
I mean, you were probably buying a car in 72 for like
$5,000, sure,
grand. That is bananas. That's really impressive.
That's the first digital watch. That's the very first digital watch. 78 wasn't bad.
Yeah, I knew it was sometime in the 70s. I just didn't know when. I was kind of surprised it was that early.
All right, 1972.